Okay, let's get stuck into this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into Sydney, Australia. Specifically, we're looking at how you as a visitor can navigate the city drawing on all the great sources you shared.
That's right. And we've got a real variety here, haven't we? Official safety info, crime stats,
Yeah.
but also academic stuff on beach safety and that really practical crowdsourced guide from the
Yeah.
forum.
Yeah, that forum thread was gold. So, our mission today is basically to sift through all this, pull out the essential nuggets for visiting Sydney, make sure you feel clued in, ready to explore, and hopefully have some aha moments.
That's good. So starting big picture, the sources paint Sydney as, well, pretty safe overall. There was that ranking from back in September 2018, fifth safest city globally. It's a good starting point, right?
Definitely reassuring. But, like the sources say, it's a major city. So things like assault or robbery, while not rampant, are realities you find in any big urban place. Sydney's no different there.
Exactly. It's not about being scared, it's just about being aware. And the materials highlighted that the authorities are actively tackling street crime. They mentioned the NSW police force member 000 for emergency.
And 131, 444 for non-emergencies, right?
Yep. And the city of Sydney itself is committed to community safety for everyone, including visitors.
Now, before we jump into the practical stuff for today, I thought the historical bit was, well, pretty interesting context. Sydney starting as a British penal colony. Lots of convicts sent for, petty crimes initially.
Well, it really sets a different scene compared to many other world cities, doesn't it? And the sources gave those colorful examples that pushes these early gangs, sometimes based on religion, apparently.
Uh-huh. And the razor gangs, that sounded pretty full on.
Yeah, back in the 20s and 30s, the story goes they switched to razors after gun laws got tighter. Shows how things change, eh? But okay, history lesson over. Let's talk navigating Sydney now. That crowdsourced guide was packed with tips.
Perfect. Right, getting around. Public transport seems pretty user-friendly. Using credit or debit cards to tap on and off, super convenient for visitors.
That tap-on system is great. And, yes, the classic tip from the forum. You actually have to wave or signal the bus driver. Don't just stand there expecting it to stop.
Huh? Okay, that's a really useful, specific bit of advice. Good one. And for safety, especially later at night or if the train or bus is empty.
Yeah, the advice was stick near the driver or the guard. And trains have those marked night-safe areas on the platforms. Look out for those.
Makes sense. And if you do see anything dodgy, antisocial behavior.
Report it to staff or police. The police info mentioned emergency help points on platforms too, and reporting unattended bags. Just basic awareness stuff.
Okay, what about walking? Seems there are rules there too, written or unwritten. The big one. Keep left on footpaths, escalators, keep the flow going.
Yep, fundamental. And crossing roads. That crowdsourced advice was almost comical, but made a serious point. Look right, then left, then right, then left, then right, then left again. Or something like that.
Right. The point being, traffic comes from the right in Australia. So you need to reprogram your brain a bit and be extra, extra careful, especially as a visitor. The 40-kilometer rate speed limit in central Sydney helps, but still.
Totally. And another simple thing, don't just stop dead in the middle of a busy path. If you need to check your map or phone, just step aside.
Common courtesy, really. Okay, shifting gears to services, interactions. Some cultural differences popped up in the material. Restaurants, for example.
Yeah, the service style. It's not typically that American style hovering. Aussies often prefer being left alone to eat.
So you might need to actually catch their eye or signal if you need something.
Pretty much. Don't expect them to constantly check in. And another thing, free refills on drinks. Generally not a thing. You pay per drink.
Okay, good to know. Which leads us to tip heaping. This came up again and again.
Oh, yeah. The message was loud and clear, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Basically, do not tip.
Exactly. Australia's a wages economy. Staff get paid a proper wage. You might see tipping prompts on payment machines sometimes because of the software.
But it's totally not expected or required, at all. Maybe a tiny bit for truly exceptional above and beyond service, but even then.
Yeah, it's really not the norm. Don't feel obligated.
That's a big one for visitors from certain countries. Okay, what about water?
Tap water, safe, drinkable, strictly regulated. That came through clearly.
So no need to constantly buy bottled water.
Nope, unless you really prefer it. The sources explain things like a slight chlorine taste sometimes, that's for safety, or maybe cloudiness from air bubbles, or even tiny black specks if a tap washer is old. Generally harmless stuff.
Good to know. All right, cultural interactions. That forum thread had some gems. Voice volume.
Yeah, an observation came up, and it was specifically mentioning Americans, though perhaps applies more broadly about potentially speaking louder in public than locals might. Just something to be, self-aware about.
Right, just different norms. And another big piece of advice, avoid constantly comparing Sydney negatively to back home.
Apparently saying, oh, it's so much better in America or wherever doesn't go down too well. Seems obvious, but
Yeah. Better to ask locals about their city, right? Show genuine interest. Where's a great place for coffee? What's this neighborhood like?
exactly. Oh, and apparently, don't be surprised or offended if someone mistakes you for Canadian. The source suggested Aussies sometimes guess Canadian because they find Canadians might get less offended if they guess wrong.
Huh. Okay, an interesting little quirk. What about sensitive topics?
Yeah, the advice was generally for visitors to steer clear of initiating chats about U.S. politics,
Yeah.
things like Trump, guns, healthcare, also religion. Australia is pretty secular, so while welcoming, being overly vocal or, preachy in public isn't the usual vibe.
So maybe let locals lead if those topics come up, and only engage if you're comfortable.
Sounds like a sensible approach. Language also got to mention. Slang, obviously. The C word came up.
Ah, yes. That needed careful handling.
Very. The sources noted it can be used in different ways in Australia, even positively between mates, depending on context and tone and adjectives. But the strong advice for visitors was, basically, don't use it, especially not with strangers, not in public, definitely not towards women. It's very context specific.
Okay, rule of thumb, observe, don't participate with that one. Got it. What about yeah, nah, and nah, yay?
Oh yeah, those classics. Yeah, nah means no. Nah, yeah means yes. Can definitely trip you up if you're not listening closely.
Good ones to file away. And entree,
Means the appetizer or starter course in Australia, not the main meal like in the US.
another easy mistake. And finally, just generally, have a sense of humor. Don't be too easily offended.
Yeah, especially by casual swearing in informal settings. It's often just part of the chat, not meant aggressively. Context again.
Okay, let's talk about doing things in Sydney. Practical tips from the sources. The Manly Ferry.
Classic suggestion. Great, cheap way to see the harbor. Get some fish and chips at Manly Beach. Sounds lovely.
For food generally, the advice was maybe explore areas like Chinatown, Newtown, Surrey Hills.
Yeah, find more local spots, potentially better prices than right in the super touristy zone like the rocks near the Opera House, which can be pricey.
Makes sense. And for coffee and beer fans.
Sydney's got great coffee. If you want a filter or drip coffee, ask for batch brew. An Americano is espresso and hot water, different thing.
Gotcha. Batch brew and beer.
Inner West Brewery's got a big rap. Places like Young Henry's, Grifter, Filter, Wayward, Euless, Wildflower. Batch Brewing got a specific mention for their Elsie Utter Stout. Cooper's also got a nod for brown ale or stout.
And the ones to maybe avoid ordering unless you want a sideways glance.
Yeah, the advice was steer clear of Foster's seen as purely for export, or beers sometimes labeled Bogan, like VB, Victoria Bitter, or XXX from Queensland. Apparently ordering XXXX might get you a ribbing.
Noted. What about getting out of the city for a day?
Blue Mountains came up, Katoomba specifically. Great for hiking, nature, and there's a brewery there too, Mountain Culture.
It's a nice option. And wildlife in the city, besides pigeons.
Seagulls and bin chickens. The ibis might eye off your lunch if you're eating outside. Be warned. But no, kangaroos aren't hopping down George Street. That's a myth.
Okay, important shift now. Natural hazards. This seemed like a really critical part of the material, especially for visitors. The sun first.
Absolutely crucial. Came through so strongly. The sun in Australia is just different, fiercer. Ozone layer issues, maybe. You absolutely must wear sunscreen. Aussie brands are formulated for the conditions, plus a hat, plus sunglasses. No exceptions.
And seek shade, right? Especially midday, like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And maybe don't plan your marathon training for noon.
Definitely limit heavy activity in the heat. Which brings us to heat risks, dehydration, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. The sources listed symptoms: confusion, dizziness, fainting, feeling sick, vomiting, weakness, headache.
And even stopping sweating, which is really serious.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. If you get those symptoms, it's urgent medical attention time. Drink loads of water, avoid alcohol in the heat. Basic, but vital.
And then beach safety. This felt like maybe the most important message, especially with those awful drowning stats mentioned.
So tragic. Over 55 drownings just this past summer, many at beaches. It really underlines why this is serious business.
The key message is swim between the red and yellow flags. But the research mentioned sometimes visitors don't fully grasp that or other terms.
Yeah, things like shore dump or shore break on signs might not be clear. And just understanding that ocean swimming is nothing like a pool. Rips are the big danger.
There are strong currents pulling you out, so if you're not a confident surf swimmer.
Stay shallow, seriously. And never dive head first. Hidden sandbanks cause spinal injuries. It happens.
So the absolute rule, only swim at patrolled beaches. Only between those flags. That's where the lifeguards are watching. They're there to help.
Definitely. And that UNSW study mentioned was interesting, questioning if the current signs and slogans are enough, suggesting maybe using social media, influencers, sharing stories of surviving rips, trying to find better ways to get the message across. It's an ongoing effort.
Really vital information. Okay, lastly, emergency preparedness for visitors.
Yeah, good to have the key numbers. 00000 for police, fire, ambulance. Good to know 911 diverts to it too. And 131-444 for non-urgent police stuff.
The idea of a personal emergency plan and a small go bag even came up, like ID, meds, water, could be relevant even in a CBD incident if you're stuck somewhere.
True, and in a really major event, there's a formal disaster victim registration process run by police to help track and reunite people, including visitors.
And those apps seemed useful too. Hazards Near Me NSW for local stuff like fires or floods.
Emergency Plus to get the right number quickly. BM Weather for forecasts and warnings. Live Traffic NSW for roads. Worth downloading.
Absolutely. Wow, okay, that was a proper deep dive, wasn't it?
We covered a lot. Safety basics, history, getting around, culture, fun stuff, and those really critical nature warnings.
It feels like being informed about all that is key. You need serious respect for the sun and ocean. Follow that beach advice closely. But overall, Sydney sounds like a safe, amazing, welcoming place if you've got that basic awareness.
Completely agree. And thinking about it, all the history, the slang, the warnings, it makes you realize navigating a new place is more than just avoiding trouble. It's about tuning into the culture, the environment, as layers to the whole experience.
It really does. So the final thought for you to take away from all this material we've unpacked, how does knowing about these local details, the cultural nuances, the environmental realities change how you might approach exploring a city like Sydney? Something to mull over.